All right, let's talk Houston Texans. This is a team that's obviously got a lot of great pieces, but they're looking to cement their status in the AFC and frankly the NFL as a top contender. They made a ton of moves this offseason. Some gotten a lot of criticism, some have gotten a lot of praise. But one recent move looks really smart. A great job by the Texans front office. We'll break it down in just a second. But first, I'm Nick. That's Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Houston Texans have recently made a massive move that has repercussions throughout the entire football world, especially with the Houston Texans franchise. Let's pull up the tweet, the report here, then we'll really dive into the analytics on the other side. According to Ian Rappaport, the top has blown off the DB market. Sources say Texans quarterback Darius Stingley Jr. is the NFL's new highest paid DB. For anyone who's not aware, of course, that has happened over the past couple days. Stingley has agreed to terms on a 3-year, $90 million deal, $30 million per year. This deal was done by his agent. Who cares what his name is? All right, this was a phenomenal move by the Houston Texans. There's a lot of great data to back this up in Mize. I know you've got that. But first, Texans fans in the comment section below, before we get into the data proving how smart a move this was by Houston, we got a lot of great stuff for you. How would you grade this Texans move? Do you think it's an A move? Do you really like it? You think it's a C move? You really don't? You hate it? It's an F? Whatever it is. Again, before you see the data, we got a lot of great stuff for you guys. Grade this Texans move here in the comment section below. But Miles, I will throw it over to you to get us going. What you got involving Stingley with the Houston Texans?
Yeah, first, Nick, I think, bring up an interesting point here. Why do they keep adding these agents into the end? I don't think anyone cares who negotiates these deals, but nonetheless, I think this is a really great deal for the Texans. I think people talk about, Rappaport said the top was blown off the DB market. No, I think the top was adequately taken off the top of the DB market, and he was fairly compensated. So I bring up these numbers. I think Texans fans already know, but anyone else around the league who wasn't aware, Derek Stingley is a phenomenal player, and he's very, very deserving of the raise that he was given. Let's get into the data, though, and we'll break it all down here, and everybody can now understand just how good Derek Stingley was. So, right now, we're looking at Derek Stingley versus the top. I'm not even talking about, random guys around the league, rookies, anything like that, his class that he came in with. We're talking about the best, highest paid corners in all of the NFL. In blue, on the very left, dark blue, you see Derek Stingley himself. And light blue next to him, another guy that recently got paid, J.C. Horn, one of the top paid, or second top paid corner in the NFL. Next to him, someone everybody's familiar with, Jalen Ramsey in the lime green color. And then finally, the next guy up, I would say, the guy who quite hasn't gotten his deal but is due for another one, Sauce Gardner in the teal green on the far right-hand side of these graphs. And when you look at these numbers, let's look at first, what are the important things, number one things that corners do? Cover guys, make plays on the ball, and then maybe even secondarily be able to stop the run is something nice to have as well. But mainly, coverage and getting turnovers is the main job of these corners. So we see Derek Stingley here on the first part, the left, his interceptions. 7 interceptions last season for Stingley, doing fantastic, phenomenal. Out of these world numbers in the interception department. Got 5 during the regular season, and when it counted most in the postseason, he gets 2 interceptions then as well. You look at J.C. Horn, 1 pick, Jalen Ramsey, 2 picks, then Sauce Gardner, only 1 pick. And if you even want to go down to the 4th best, highest paid guy, Patrick Surtain, he got 4 picks this season. So if you add it all up, he's had almost as many picks as the top 4 corners in the NFL today. So really great numbers there for Derek Stingley. You look at his PFF coverage grade. This is where he really shines. He's about 13 points over a lot of these guys, about 11 points over Sauce Gardner. He's really phenomenal. 84.4 PFF coverage grade for Stingley. J.C. Horn surprising me. A low season for him. Maybe there's some stuff going on in Carolina, but a 57.9 coverage grade for him. Jalen Ramsey, a 71.9 coverage grade. And then Sauce Gardner, 73.1 coverage grade, low year for him as well. Then finally, his salary, we all know $30 million average per year in millions there for Derek Stingley. You look at what J.C. Horn has, $25 million, Jalen Ramsey, $24 million, then Sauce Gardner, no new deal yet for him, but $8.3 million. I expect him to be the next guy to get this massive cornerback contract, kind of reset the market, so to speak. But if you're looking at Derek Stingley, he is better than everybody else on this list by a wide margin. He brings a lot to the table, and I think him only getting 5 million more a year over these guys, not too crazy. I think they beat Sauce Gardner, the Jets coming to the table, getting that deal done. That's good for them. They're able to set the market and not be super astronomically higher than the next guy. So I think overall, this was a great move by the Texans, a great player, great stats to back it up with as well, and a reasonable paycheck for him. I think overall, everybody won on this deal.
Mize, it's even better than everything you described because we're starting to see, and this usually happens when a deal breaks and the information goes out. It takes a few days for the really, in the weeds to trickle out. And what really this deal is structured, it's not a 3-year deal. It's 3 years added on to his rookie year deal. So instead of a 3-year 90 at 30 million, it actually ends up working out about a 5-year deal when you factor in the last 2 years of his rookie deal, averaging at about 22.6, $23 million per year. So if you think of it as APY as 30 and saying, oh, he's getting 5 million more than, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Ramsey, whatever, he's actually at a little bit of a discount, a significant discount annualized. And for the next 2 years, he's going to be at a massive discount because it's going to be the final 2 years of his original rookie deal. And after the end of those 2 years, if that's, say, God forbid, something happens to Derek Stingley, the Texans can walk away before the really big cap hit comes into factor, or they could restructure and move money around if they want to make other moves. So this was a really, really outstanding job of making a big headline grabbing deal that makes Derek Stingley feel great, right? He reset the market. His agent gets his name in the headlines. He's now the highest paid on an APY basis corner. It's just a phenomenal deal for Derek Stingley. Makes him look great, and it's well deserving. But it's also a great team deal. It's also a well structured deal. It's a smart move by Nick Caserio and the Houston Texans. And it's moves like these that can really make all the difference. It's understanding what the other end of the negotiating table is really wanting, right? Derek Stingley, I'm sure it makes a difference, but if you're looking at 15 million versus 16 or 15 versus 20 million, how much does it really make in terms of Stingley's quality of life? But you know what makes Stingley's quality of life much bigger? The highest paid DB ever and lapping the field with guys like Sauce Gardner and Jalen Ramsey. You give him that by giving him this massive deal, 3-year, 90 million, 30 million APY, makes all the headlines, and everyone's like, whoa, wow, Stingley's amazing. He's the best DB in the NFL. He's proven it. The numbers, his salary backs it up. But instead, really, it's just a 3-year extension added onto his rookie year deal. So now it's just a $23 million deal on average, which is an even bigger discount. His numbers are fantastic. He actually would be, to your point, worth 30 million APY, but the Texans are giving him less than that in terms of what's going to hit their salary cap while making Derek Stingley feel like he's getting 30 million APY. And the message around the NFL is that Stingley is worth at least 30 million APY. This is just great roster management, a great decision by the Houston Texans. There's been a lot of criticism with Houston with what they've done this offseason, specifically involving the offensive line. But this deal, this decision with Derek Kingley is one of the smartest moves they made yet. And there's one other big factor to consider. It is never a bad idea to sign your young stars early. Players, as they get more experience, as they get deeper to the end of their contracts, will only get more expensive. Ask the Cincinnati Bengals. I guarantee you they would have wished they would have locked up T. Higgins and Jamar Chase years ago. Instead, now they're allocating something like $71 million per year to just those two guys at wide receiver. That's a huge chunk of change going forward. They could be at like 55 or 60 if they would have locked them up a couple years ago. The Texans are not the Bengals. They're making a smart move here, locking down their star corner at the right time to do it at a great price.
Yeah, Nick, and to your point, kind of to tabulate on the talking about the moves made at the offensive line position, it kind of this and that go hand in hand a little bit because it falls into the bigger picture that D'Amico Ryans wants with this Texans team. He made comments talking about everybody knows they moved off some older, bigger name offensive linemen for in lieu for younger guys and probably get some guys in the draft as well to kind of bolster the offensive line ranks. But D'Amico Ryans recently came out and he says the way that he wants this team to be structured, he wants young leaders to be the face of this team. He specifically says we need to get the guys on offense. Obviously, C.J. Stroud is one of those guys. They need to get more guys, especially on the offensive line, to be the young leaders to step up, the Juice Scruggs of the world to step up and become those young leaders on the offensive line. But he also said defensively, the leaders on this team, Derek Stingley, Will Anderson Jr., the two young guys coming up through the ranks, looking really, really good. And I think by doing this, he's proved like, hey, we're actually putting our money where our mouth is. If you're a young leader on this team, if you step up, if you play good for this team. We're willing to come to the table early. We're willing to put the money on the table. And I think just everybody is going to benefit from this deal in the long run. I think younger players are going to be excited. You might get more young free agents who want to come over to this team. Guys in the draft, you can't really select where they go, but they're going to be happy to come to the Texans. Undrafted guys, they're going to be like, hey, there's a chance I could break out. I could be a big deal at the Texans. They want young guys to step up, make plays. I have a better chance to play with the Texans. I think this is a good strategy overall, and just I'm really excited for the Texans because I think this is showing that this is a really good decision that they have made here.
Yeah, you bring up a great point is that future free agents, future trade targets, future draft picks are going to see deals like the Stingley thing and say, listen, at Houston, they're going to make you, if you're worth it, the highest paid player at your position. And I guarantee you that's going to attract a lot of people. Being in Texas with no state income tax obviously doesn't hurt that cause either. But there's one interesting kind of statistical nugget I like to end on when it comes to Derek Stingley, and this kind of circles back to the very beginning. Is that he's worth it. Like, he is that good. And you brought up PFF coverage grade. Obviously, for DBs, cornerbacks, it's the most important PFF metric to go by. Obviously, Sauce Gardner is a really good young player, a colleague of Stingley playing for the New York Jets. But based in 2024 numbers, right? And I pulled this up here. I had to double check it. The difference in coverage grade, the difference in performance, the difference in quality of play between Stingley and Sauce Gardner is the same difference as Sauce Gardner to a guy named Cordell Flott. Nothing against Cordell Flott. I have no idea who he is. I didn't even know he was a football player. Sounds like I have no idea. Nothing about him. Know nothing about him. But that is the delta. That is the difference. The difference between Stingley and Sauce Gardner, good player Sauce Gardner, is the same difference as Sauce Gardner and a guy no one has ever heard of. That's how special Derek Stingley is. When it comes right down to it, when you have great players and special players, you give them the money, and the Texans did that in the smartest way possible. Phenomenal job by Houston.